Hello, collective. Thank you so much for joining me for another video today. So, today's topic, the inner child. There's a lot of questions going around. What is the inner child? What does it mean to have an inner child? How do we help the inner child? How do we fix the inner child? How do we heal the inner child? Um, Fix is not really a term that I like to use when it comes to the inner child because, you know, how would you feel if somebody came up to you and said, uh, you need to fix this and this and this and this about your personality and who you are. Otherwise, you're not going to fit in. So, and you'll understand that as we go into what the inner child is and how the inner child feels affected by your actions, words, and thoughts. Okay. So your inner child is essentially the child that is within you from all of the past versions of yourself throughout your childhood. So anything from zero until what you're really considered to be an adult, which is around age 24, 26, depending on the person. Of course, legally, you're defined as an adult at a certain age. However, you don't come into your maturity until around age 26. So, because of that, it could be any past version of yourself who has experienced trauma or wounding in any shape or form. And that can appear from anything from minor to very significant, right? So, minor being, say, I'll take the example of my son. He was always on the shyer spectrum of things. He wasn't that outgoing. He um, was really shy around new people, especially even family, because we lived far away. He was shy around them until he had spent, quite a bit of time with them, and then he would open up. But what I noticed is when strangers came up to him, especially ones with deeper voices or who were very assertive, um, or who were very tall, and this could be the energy because you're so open when you're little, that he was picking up on the energy as well as the body language of those people. Um, so what I noticed though was that when these people would approach, him, he would go right behind me right away and cling on to my leg and look up and be scared. Now, if somebody talks to you when you're a shy person, or even if you're not shy, in a way that seems authoritative in any kind of way, um, and you don't know them, that could be perceived as a threat, which could be perceived as a child of that age of, anywhere between 0 and 7 as danger, right? So that could be wounding in of itself. And that is why you see little children go behind you and, hide from the person. They'll hug you or hide from them. They'll use your body to deflect whatever threat is coming towards them. So that's, how you get these wounds. They can be significant or they could be insignificant. And these wounds tend to manifest in your experiences throughout the course of your life. So I'll take, for instance, a situation that I experienced, which was being restrained as a child by siblings. And they wanted to, extend their spit towards my face, back and forth, suck it up, gross, but that's what happened. And so I was restrained. And what I found after examining the course of my relationships and my experiences is that the feelings that I stuffed down inside and didn't know how to process at that age manifested and festered into physical experiences of actual trauma in relationships that I experienced where I was restrained. And so I was either physically restrained or emotionally and mentally restrained. So they manifested from this one experience, one type of experience, it manifested into something much larger because the wounds, though I knew that they were there, I knew that I didn't enjoy that experience, that it left me feeling scared and vulnerable. Um, I passed it off like the rest of us do because that seems insignificant compared to the really traumatic events that would later occur in my life. So it can be anything as small as that to something as bad as, maybe being abused as a child, and it manifests into other forms of abuse later on. So it's really important that when we're looking at our inner child, that we identify as many of the root causes as possible. And depending on the person, some people aren't able to look at that really hard stuff right away. That's totally okay. Maybe you need to get a support system in place before you start getting into the extreme traumas, especially if you were abused as a child in any way, shape, or form. And especially if it was long term, right? That can be really hard to just jump right into those things. Some people can do it. That's kind of where I started my path because that's who I am, but not everybody is capable of just going straight there. So then the first thing that you want to do is identify all the lighter things that started in your childhood. So if you had siblings, or if you had, say, a controlling teacher, or whatever your experience is, you want to identify and isolate those experiences. And it's good to start journaling when you're working with your inner child. So before you even start working with your inner child, you need to identify and isolate the situations that have occurred in your life that have caused wounding in some way, shape, or form, even if it seems insignificant. Because as you find out, as you continue on this work with your inner child and along your awakening journey, you'll find out that it was not insignificant because the feelings that you felt at that time, which you could not process, you suppressed, and they were still underlying in your energetic field and in your body, and they were still present, and they were expressing themselves with what you attracted into your life. So, whatever people you attracted into your life or experiences, you'll find that they started manifesting more and more and more in your experiences. And often, even though situations can have variations on how they manifest, what I found is that because I experienced a lot of abuse in my relationships and, in my life, I found that even though I had decided at a certain age I was done with the physical abuse aspect and well, I'll just say the S word because I don't know what I can say on YouTube, S word abuse. I had manifested a completely different kind, although it was still in line with experiences that I had as a child that just, grew within my energetic field. So I was still asking, my energy was still attracting those kinds of experiences. And with each experience, they evolved into some mutation and some like some bigger and grander aspect of whatever I felt when I was younger, right? And so, though they were different experiences, they also got bigger and ingrained deeper and were more painful. And that's kind of the evolution of learning is that if you're not waking up to the experience and the lesson behind the experience, it does evolve, it does get bigger, it does get more painful. And that is in order to wake you up. It's not that you're deserving of it. Absolutely not. None of us were deserving of being abused in any way, shape, or form. But what it is serving you as a wake up call to wake you up from that situation, from the brain fog that can come with those situations, the illusions that, things are happening to you rather than for you. And these experiences are coming to you just to illuminate you to the fact that that is still present in your energetic field, in your inner child's wounding, for you to actually do something about it, to heal it. Okay, so next point is how do we actually go in and start to work with our inner child? So after we have made our list or done journaling as to where we want to start with our inner child. You may want to have like at least 10 experiences to start with, because the reason I say that is you can start with one, but when it comes to writing down your experiences, and you don't have to do it all at one time, you can do it over the course of a month or a week or whatever suits your boat and your situation, that's fine. Um, but when it comes to writing these things down, what I found is that the natural evolution of remembering one period of your life, one time frame of your life, opens up the doors to other experiences that have happened at that same time frame. So maybe you want to start with a specific age and then evolve from there. Or maybe you want to jump from one age to another to another. But generally what I found is that once you start opening the gate to that experience, other experiences are sure to follow that are kind of clustered around that one experience. And so you'll get a bunch of different woundings that will come forward from that era or that year or that time period in which you're revisiting. So you can go more than 10, honestly, if that's what you'd like to do. But um, do understand that generally you'll have a bunch of things surfacing around that area. So the more that you're flip-flopping between different ages and time frames, the more difficult it is to really focus in on that specific wounding. And when I talk about deeper wounding, I am referring to the very traumatic situations that we've experienced as children, or that some of us have experienced as children. Those come with their own subsets of wounds. So, where you may be going into one wound, you're opening the door to a bunch of other feelings and wounds that exist within that frame of reference of that experience. So, um, don't be surprised that when you start doing this work that there's other feelings and there's other memories associated with that particular time frame that you're targeting. That's just the natural evolution. Allow it to be. If feelings come up in the moment that you're writing it down, just feel into it. And by feeling into it, I mean stop writing, allow yourself to sit, close your eyes if you want to, open them if you want to. If it's really traumatic, you can keep them open. Focus on nothing, right? Like allow your gaze to just kind of blur. You can focus on a spot or an item if you'd like and just focus above that, but allow your gaze to just go into your peripheral vision, essentially. And don't stare at anything intently or specifically. But by doing that, you're taking the pressure off your mind and allowing your body to just be present. And so then, whatever thoughts come up, don't fight them. Don't judge them. Don't judge yourself. Don't beat yourself up. And do your best not to deny them. Just allow them to be present. And internally, you can acknowledge that they're there. You can tell yourself internally, it's okay. You're allowed to be there. I acknowledge your presence. You're allowed to be there. And let them pass. Let them come up. Let them pass. It's just like breathing, right? Emotions are going to come up with those thoughts and the thought patterns that come up. That's perfectly normal. Same thing. Allow them to come up. If you need to scream, scream. If you need to say no, scream no. Yell no. You know, this is your time to set boundaries when it comes to things like abuse, especially S abuse, right? Um, or physical. So if you feel that anger coming up, or you feel extreme sadness and need to start wailing and letting it all out, let it out, because that's your inner child coming forward, and they have been holding on to these emotions for so long, and they've felt unseen, unheard, don't trust the world, don't trust anybody around them, and don't even trust you at this point. So you need to encourage it sometimes. If you feel it coming up, your natural reaction is going to be to suppress it and hold back. Or maybe if you smoke, go for a smoke. Or if you're a drinker, you may want to immediately run for a drink. Avoid doing that because it's a negative loop that just keeps feeding itself. Instead, encourage your inner child to come forward by just simply acknowledging that your inner child is there. And you don't have to say this out loud, but if you want to, you can. And you just tell them, I see you. I hear you. And you can use your name or you can call them your inner child. It's up to you. But I see you. I hear you. And it is safe for you to feel. I'll be here for you. And allow whatever comes up to come up. Okay? So that is the first step in really working with your inner child, is identifying some of the issues and then starting to build that rapport with your inner child. Because if you think about it, you have been MIA this whole time that they've been there, wounded and abandoned. So you do need to build some sort of rapport with them in order for them to feel trust between the two of you and build a relationship. Without that rapport, you're not going to get these emotions coming up as strongly as you need them to in order to fully release them. So, ways that you can build rapport with your inner child: look in the mirror for 5 minutes every day. You may only be able to start with like 10 seconds a day. A lot of people who look at themselves in the mirror, in the eyes, they gaze into their eyes, have to look away or feel like they have to look away right away. I'm going to urge you to push yourself a little more every day. Do what you feel comfortable with, because of course you don't want to be um, scared away from the process by pushing yourself too hard the first day. However, day by day, make an attempt, show up for yourself and your inner child by looking at what the best thing to do is not to look directly at both of your eyes, because it's almost impossible to really gaze into your eyes that way. What you do is you stare almost directly into both of your eyes, but instead you shift your eyes, not physically, but your gaze slightly, all so that it's going into your left eye instead. And the reason why you choose the left eye is because that's the access for your emotional body, your emotions, and it also triggers something in your brain that allows you to feel comfortable and at ease. If you look into your right eye, that's going to intimidate you. It's going to make you feel very uneasy. So I don't suggest doing that, but you can try it out just for fun and see how long you can last. That's always a fun game anyhow. Anyhow, so when accessing your inner child, you definitely want to start that rapport by looking into what's going on, reassuring your inner child, doing this mirror exercise. And once you get up to the 5 minute mark, um, and you're successful at staying there for 5 minutes, and you don't have to stand there and just stare at yourself really closely to the mirror. I started that in the very beginning because I was trying to pull away so much, but over time I was able to step back, and then I can just look at my inner child and my inner self from afar. However, you want to add in words to this process. Okay. So the words that you would add would be, like just saying good morning or good night, or depending on, when you're doing it, what time of the day, starting a dialogue. And if you think about how we speak to adults versus how we often speak to children, well, you want to take that concept and apply it here, because your inner child is still a child, right? So you want to start at the earliest version of your inner child that you have memories of situations that may have been hurtful or traumatic for you, right? So you want to go straight to that age, and that's how you would speak to that child. As you go on further, you can speak, if it's teenager, you can speak to them like, in teenage language from your time. Talk to them like you were there at that time, because you were. So you remember how you spoke back then. So talk to them in that frame of reference. If it's your adult self in your 20s, talk to them like you would have spoken to your friends at that time. So start this dialogue and start to assure them, start letting them know that they're seen, that they're heard, that they're loved, that, you validate them and you respect them. And, you want to give them the words of encouragement that are specific to what you did not receive when you were a child. All right. And in time, you can start asking them questions. So first you would ask, like you would greet them, acknowledge that they're there, tell them a little bit about your day, open up a little bit, and then you want to progress to saying like, how are you doing? Ask them a question, or you could even ask, are you there? Do you want to talk to me today? And if they don't, that's fine. Respect it. Don't push. And whatever you're hearing in your mind as the first thing that you're hearing, trust. That's the biggest thing. Trust what you are hearing. If you are hearing something, trust that that is the beginnings of their opening and coming out of their shell, right? The consistency of this practice is important. As much as you can, anyhow, or at least connecting with them on some level every day. So whether it is feeling safe enough to feel the emotions and processing them as they come up, or acknowledging when you are feeling an emotion bubbling to the surface and it's becoming overwhelming, even acknowledging those things, you're acknowledging your inner child. And so things that you could do in those moments when you're feeling overwhelmed with emotion is just to say, okay, I hear you, inner child, or I hear you and your name, and remove yourself from the situation to go and feel through it. All right, we're in a safe place. We can feel it now, right? Back to, I'm a little bit all over the place today because my energy it's surged again today, which is a good thing, but I'm going to have to learn how to rebalance this energy now that I'm increasing my energy daily. So back to the mirror method. So once you get up to the 5-minute mark, try and extend that. So you can either extend it for 10 minutes and like have a full dialogue, because by that point, you've really created trust between the two of you. Or you can go on and do 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. What child doesn't want to be tucked in at night? I don't know any. They all want security and safety and love, right? So that's just a form of nurturing your inner child. And that's a good starting point. As you go further on, having, even in public, I'll do this. I don't even necessarily have to do it out loud. Sometimes I'll actually lip sync it actually. I was at the grocery store the other day and I was battling myself over something, and and then I realized, I need to like calm down my inner child for a moment here because my inner child is feeling scarcity. And I started kind of saying it really under my breath, but I was moving my lips like talking to the shelf. And I looked over and the pharmacist area was not far off from where I was. And the pharmacist just looked at me and then smiled really awkwardly. And I went, oh, yeah, yeah, I don't care. It was quite funny. Um, once you start dropping your guard about things like that, people are going to think you're crazy. Who cares? Whatever. Just be you. Be authentic to you. Be truthful and honest to you. That's all that's going to matter. You're going to find people who are like, oh, you're talking to your inner child. Yeah, me too. Eventually, you'll find those people. So don't worry about what other people think about you. Um, anyhow, so one of the other things that you can do with your inner child is you can go in quiet reflection or meditation, just put on some soothing music. In fact, I think I'm going to do some inner child meditations, guided meditations, as well as I had the idea to do an inner child play, right? Because one of the things about your inner child is that your inner child is the part of you that does have access to the joy and playing, right? So if you've shut down all of those aspects of your life, which I had, I forgot how to play. I forgot how to access joy and happiness. Like I was living in a state of just everything but those things, right? And so I couldn't even channel my artistic side anymore. That's how disconnected I became from my inner child and from that joy. So that's a symptom of disalignment from your inner child and like desperation at that point, that your inner child is withering away. And then you may find that you have to really work hard to create that bond between your inner child and yourself if there is a lack of all of those things in your life. Because if you think about it, um, even like a lack of empathy or understanding or compassion, that can apply to the same principles that your inner child is really suffering at that point. So if you reflect on your life and you see these things happening, then you'll know that your inner child is really truly needing your help at this point. And you don't want it to be too late, so that it's unrecoverable, because at a certain point in your life, you really completely cut the cords to that aspect of yourself. So it becomes really difficult to bring that part of you back into your identity, into your soul, well, into your soul, integrate it back into your energetic field, your body, and your way of living, right? So, um, incorporating play, finding out how to access that becomes really easy the more in touch you become with your inner child, because your inner child is what reawakens all of these parts of yourself. It's also like one of the reasons why you get so much energy once you start developing relationships, good, healthy relationships with your inner child, because you're healing and releasing all of the wounds and all of the emotions that are attached to those wounds, and creating a sense of safety and security within yourself. And the more you do this, the more you align your physical um, and 3D existence with what it is that you truly want to experience in this life, right? So that's why aligning yourself really comes down a lot to how you operate with your inner child and what experiences you allow in or don't allow in to affect your inner child negatively or positively. So the more you align with those things, the more awakened and trustful and present your inner child becomes. And that awakens you to everything else. So for me, like I'm really on this precipice of ending and now new beginning. And I am so thrilled because my energy is finally picking up. And I'm ready to play. I'm ready to experience the world. My inner child's just like, can we get out of here, please? You know? So I know that it's coming. My new beginning is coming, and you'll feel it as it is coming up. You'll get these surges in the beginning, and that's your indication. Okay, my inner child's starting to feel a lot better. Trust in me. She or he wants to come out and play, or they want to come out and play. Um, Go with it. Allow it to come up naturally, but don't push yourself too quickly out the door when you feel that. That's a lesson I've learned recently, because I depleted my physical body so much that I was really eager to get out there and to go and play, because my inner child's like, yes, let's go play, let's go play. But um, then I was overdoing it, which was not taking care of my inner child, because my body is depleted still. So my body is recovering after years and years of just giving of myself too much in an imbalanced state. And it's overworked, right? So it needs time to heal and catch up. So even though you may feel sometimes like it's time, allow the surges to come. Allow yourself to still be somewhat productive, but don't overdo it. Just wait until it's consistently like that. And then you know it's your time to go. It's your time to move. It's your time to explore. It's your time to, I'm not saying don't have fun, but if your physical body is depleted in any way, shape, or form, or if you had any kinds of addictions that took that out of your body, you need time for your body to recover. So this energy is coming into your body also to tell you, hey, I'm replenishing your body. I'm repairing your cells. I am clearing out your brain fog, your mind, restructuring your body. So you still need to take it easy. Don't go hog wild and do all these crazy things like exercise for 6 hours. You know, just take my word on that. Anyhow, so those are some of the starting points with your inner child that you want to work with. And you can look forward to some of these meditations to connect with your inner child, to start the dialogue, or to just go down to deeper memories that you may need to be able to access, as well as some that I am, currently in creation mode with, and trying to figure out what the best ways to have like little short, maybe 10-15 minute guided. I don't really want to say they're meditations because they're not. There's something different that I haven't seen out there before, but I've had this idea to create like little play activities where you're using your imagination almost like in a form of meditation, but you are playing with your inner child. Because for those like me who forgot how to play and access that part of ourselves, it was really difficult in the beginning. And I started envisioning these exact things and starting to play with my inner child. Right. So I think I will create a couple of videos like that, or yeah, I guess videos, meditation type things. I'll have to figure out what to call them, but um, scenarios where you can play with your inner child and start to awaken that aspect of yourself too, because playing is a big part of a child's identification. Using their imagination is a huge part of their identification, and most adults have forgotten how to use their imagination in those ways. So, connecting to those aspects will actually speed up the process of creating that bond and that trust between you and your inner child. All right. So, I think that's all I want to share and cover in this video. I'm going to create another video next, and that's going to be a little tidbit of information that the universe provided to me recently, which I'm so grateful for, on abundance, attraction, and your inner child. So stay tuned for that one. See you next time. I love you. Bye bye.